Invincible has some incredible fan creativity. From stunning animations,
You were always so pathetic.
and wild crossovers, to deep dive character variants. And yeah, I am not talking about this shit.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the
We're diving into the most compelling alternate realities that reimagine Mark Grayson's destiny from the ground up. Prince Mark. What if Mark Grayson never grew up on Earth? What if, instead of suburban Chicago and high school drama, his childhood was spent in the cold, magnificent halls of Viltrum's imperial palace? Today, we explore a reality where Mark was never the son of a hero, but a prince of the empire. The divergence is simple, but its consequences are eternal. Shortly after Mark's birth, Nolan makes a terrifying discovery. Scans and genetic archives reveal the truth. His son carries within him the royal bloodline, a direct connection to Viltrum's imperial family, thought nearly extinct after civil war and the Scourge virus. In Viltrumite society, bloodline is everything. Mark is not just a hybrid, he is a legitimate heir to the throne itself. Nolan is faced with an impossible choice: his life on Earth with Debbie or his duty to the Empire. He chooses Viltrum. Within days, Viltrumite ships descend not as invaders, but as a royal escort. Nolan takes the infant Mark and leaves Earth forever. Debbie is abandoned, her family stolen by a power she cannot comprehend. Her purpose in the Empire's eyes was served. On Viltrum, Mark's reception is unprecedented. Despite his human half, he is celebrated. The royal blood is too precious to waste. Grand Regent Thrag himself oversees the introduction, masking private disdain for the boy's impurity with public recognition of his political value. Mark's childhood is a masterpiece of indoctrination. His nursery is a chamber of polished stone, taken from the cores of conquered worlds. His caretakers are veteran warriors, tasked not with nurturing, but with shaping. While human children learn songs, Mark is taught Viltrumite history, the Great Purge, the philosophy of absolute strength. These aren't lessons, they are fundamental truths, drilled into him before he can even question them. Physical training begins as soon as he can walk. Exercises that would shatter adult humans become his play. Pain is not to be avoided, it is a teacher. Suffering builds resilience. Every bruise is a lesson, never met with sympathy. His mixed heritage is a constant shadow. He is weaker than the pure-blooded children, mocked as half-breed and earthspawn. But Mark learns quickly, to admit weakness is to show unfitness. He trains with a desperate fury, pushing himself past every limit. Ironically, his human side grants him a psychological toughness they lack, a resilience born from constantly having to prove he belongs. His relationship with Nolan is cold and severe. Nolan loves his son, but he knows that in this world, affection is a vulnerability. He becomes a stern, relentless taskmaster. Failures bring no comfort, only demands for improvement. Successes bring no praise, only critique. This isn't cruelty, it's survival. Nolan is forging a weapon that must survive the brutal environment of Viltrumite politics. Mark's powers manifest early, at age 10, accelerated by Viltrum's harsh environment and constant stress. This isn't a moment of wonder, but the next phase of his education. His combat training intensifies under legends like Conquest and Thrag. Every lesson has one goal: to craft the perfect imperial weapon. But he is also groomed for leadership. He observes war councils planning the subjugation of solar systems. He watches judicial proceedings where conquered species beg for mercy and are denied. He learns that Viltrumite diplomacy is merely the choice between immediate and delayed violence. He is taught to see civilizations as resources, threats, or obstacles, nothing more. By his teens, Mark is everything the Empire hoped for: powerful, skilled, ruthless, and utterly loyal to Viltrumite dogma. His human heritage is a distant echo, his mother a forgotten footnote. His first mission at 16 is to subjugate a rebellious colony world that values art over war. His orders are clear: make an example. He executes them with chilling, mechanical efficiency. He crushes defenders, pursues fleeing civilians, and delivers justice to pleading leaders. He returns bathed in the blood of a ruined world and is deemed a success. For years, Prince Mark is a rising star, a symbol of the Empire's future. But during a campaign against a resilient species, he encounters a crack in his armor. A mother throws herself before his attack to shield her child. She dies instantly, but her final words sear into him: "You can take everything, but you'll never understand what you've lost." For the first time, a question forms: what has he lost? He begins to notice what he was trained to ignore: the fear in the eyes of the conquered, the hollow silence after a victory, the emptiness of strength without purpose. This doubt is a dangerous poison in Viltrumite society. He hides it, but it grows. He starts making small, secret choices, moments of mercy where none are watching, allowing escapes he could prevent. The crisis arrives when he is ordered to personally execute a group of political prisoners. Among them is a child, no older than 10, whose only crime is her bloodline. The order is standard procedure: eliminate future threats. But this time, looking into this child's terrified eyes, Mark doesn't see a threat. He sees himself at that age, being shaped into a weapon in the training halls. He sees the stolen childhood, the erased humanity, the choice he was never given. He refuses. The reaction is instantaneous. Refusing a direct command is treason. Thrag confronts him, his disappointment a colder fury than any shout. This is not a fight, it is a demonstration. Mark is beaten not just into defeat, but into obliteration. He is stripped of his rank, his titles, and exiled, cast out from the only home he has ever known. Broken and adrift in the void, Mark has nowhere to go. In his despair, he remembers coordinates buried in old files. Earth. He arrives not as a prince or a conqueror, but as a shattered refugee. He finds Debbie, now older, still living with a decades-old wound. She doesn't recognize the scarred warrior before her. But when he speaks his name, the dam breaks. He experiences human love for the first time, an unconditional, forgiving embrace that contradicts every lesson he was ever taught. It feels alien, yet it gives him a strength no training ever could. But he knows the Empire does not forget. They will come for Earth, either to finish Nolan's original mission, or to punish the world that harbors their exiled prince. Mark makes his first true choice. He stays. He chooses to protect the planet he was raised to conquer, the people he was taught to despise, the mother he never knew. When the Viltrumites come, they find their former prince standing against them. He fights not for conquest or glory, but for love. He takes a name he was never given, Invincible, not because he cannot be hurt, but because his will to protect cannot be broken. His story is a tragedy and a triumph. He lost everything he was raised to be, and found everything he never knew he needed. He proves that even the most perfect conditioning cannot eliminate choice, and that redemption is always possible, even for a prince of monsters. Homeland de Mark. Before Mark is born, Nolan is urgently recalled to Viltrum. The US government's Global Defense Agency, GDA, which has monitored Omni Man for years, detects the unique Viltrumite energy signature within a pregnant Debbie Grayson. They intervene under the guise of medical concern, bringing Debbie into a secure facility. Upon Mark's birth, he is immediately separated for stabilization and study. Debbie is told her son did not survive. A death certificate is issued, a gravesite shown. Her child becomes a ghost, and she is released, her life shattered by a lie. Mark's world is the Nest, a subterranean GDA complex. His crib is an environmentally controlled pod. His needs are met by rotating handlers in lab coats. His identity is forged in a vacuum. He is Subject Gamma, then Mark, a name chosen for its controllable, all-American sound. His education is ideological engineering. He learns history as a series of external threats neutralized by American strength. Science is taught through the lens of applied force and durability. Even his play is directed, strategic games that map conflict zones. The core lesson is repeated daily. His power is a gift from the nation, and his life is the payment. The mantra is drilled into him: strength for security, power for peace. Physical conditioning begins when he can walk. His Viltrumite biology is treated as a resource to be maximized. At age 5, he endures high-gravity chambers. At 7, survival drills in extreme environments. Pain is feedback, not injury. Failure means isolation in a white, silent room. Success earns a nod from his primary handler, Dr. Brandyworth, a flicker of approval he learns to crave as a substitute for love. They are building more than a soldier, they are building a symbol. A team of psychologists, marketers, and designers craft Invincible. His costume, bold red, white, and blue, is focus grouped. His speech is written by committee. He practices his heroic smile in mirrors for hours. His debut at 16 is flawless theater, a staged bridge collapse with crisis actors. He lifts the structure on cue, saves the victims, and delivers a speech about hope and security. The nation falls in love. The machine works perfectly for years. He foils GDA-staged crimes, gives scripted interviews, and becomes the pristine face of state-sanctioned power. But consciousness is a leaky vessel. In the silence between missions, a profound emptiness whispers. He watches old films, seeing families laugh and fight with a messy, real emotion he cannot comprehend. It feels like a foreign language. The first genuine crack appears not in battle, but in witnessing a true sacrifice. During an unscripted earthquake, he sees a trapped firefighter use his last breath to guide rescuers to a child before dying. The act makes no tactical sense, a net loss of an asset. Yet the man's face held peace, not calculation. Mark files the moment away, an anomaly in his data stream mind. The GDA notices micro-hesitations. His conditioning is intensified. The true crisis comes when Dr. Alina Vance, a geneticist with a conscience, flees with data exposing Project Gamma. Mark is dispatched with terminal authorization. He finds her in a rainy safe house. She looks at the god in the flag-themed suit and pities him. "Your name is Mark Grayson," she says, preempting his strike. "Your mother is Deborah Grayson. She loved you. They stole you to make this thing. You can choose." The word choose paralyzes his programming for 3 critical seconds. GDA tactical teams storm in, stun Dr. Vance, and drag her away. Her last look mouths the word again: choose. Back at the Nest, his hesitation is treated as a critical glitch. Deeper reconditioning is scheduled, but the seed is planted. Using his supreme security access, a privilege granted to their ultimate weapon, he infiltrates the deepest archives. He finds his own file. He watches the video of his birth, of Debbie's frantic, loving face, of her being sedated. He reads the psychological profiles that coldly diagram how to exploit his need for approval. He discovers the Omega Protocol, a series of kill switches and betrayal scenarios for his termination. The person was always just a component to them. The final shattering is a public order mission. Sent to disperse truth for Guardian's protesters, he descends as an intimidating symbol. One woman stands her ground, holding a sign with a decades-old baby photo. Where is Mark Grayson? It's Debbie older, her eyes etched with a lifetime of grief and stubborn hope. She looks past the symbol into him. Recognition, primal and DNA deep, breaks across her face. Mark, she whispers, the sound reaching his enhanced hearing through the crowd. My baby, what did they do to you? In that moment, every wall of conditioning collapses. The command screams in his earpiece, disperse the crowd, detain that woman. Slowly, he reaches up, removes the earpiece and crushes it. I'm done, he says, his voice raw. I don't want to do this anymore. Omega Protocol is activated. Controlled superhero assets and military units converge. He fights defensively, protecting Debbie and the protesters, but is handicapped by a refusal to kill the people who are just following orders. He is overwhelmed, battered by sonic weapons and energy blasts. Salvation comes from the independent heroes, the immortal monster girl, who had long suspected the GDA's corruption. They create a diversion, allowing the wounded Mark to grab Debbie and flee into the unknown. Life after is a fugitive's painful rebirth. They move between safe houses in the superhero underground. Debbie must mother a son who is a man in body, a child in emotion, and a battlefield in mind. He has panic attacks when faced with simple choices. He dissects every feeling, terrified it's programmed. With infinite patience, she teaches him about his father, about loss, about love that persists. She teaches him to make a choice simply because it feels right. The journey is agonizing. There are nights of rage and despair where his programming screams that this vulnerability is fatal. But piece by piece, Mark Grayson reassembles himself. He starts stopping crimes in secret, not for praise, but because he sees a need. He lets a mugger go with a warning, feeling the strange weight of mercy. He helps rebuild what has been broken. Homelander Mark's story is the rebellion of self against state. He was the perfect weapon, a living propaganda piece. His triumph was not in his limitless power, but in his fractured, fragile choice to become human. He proved that no conditioning is absolute, and that the will to be more than a tool is the most invincible force of all. Absolute Mark. What happens when a child with unlimited power grows up with zero guidance? What if the core lesson of his life was that only the strong survive? This is the story of Absolute Mark. Nolan abandons Earth before Mark is born, leaving Debbie alone, pregnant and heartbroken. Without his stability, Debbie's life spirals into addiction. Mark's childhood is not defined by love, but by neglect. He learns to feed himself, to stay quiet during his mother's lows, to understand that adults are unreliable. He grows up fast and hard. School teaches him a brutal calculus. Strength earns respect, weakness invites predation. He gets into fights not out of malice, but survival instinct. He works menial jobs as a child, earning money that doesn't vanish into a bottle. His worldview crystallizes. Everything goes to those strong enough to take it. Kindness is for the foolish. When his powers manifest at 16, it's not a call to heroism, it's a validation. Finally, he has the ultimate leverage. His first instinct is transactional survival. He becomes superpowered muscle, an enforcer for whoever pays. He feels no moral conflict. This is simply the natural order. The strong take from the weak. But he sees the game the real heroes are playing. They have wealth, influence, and public adoration, not because they're better, but because they've branded their power as virtue. Mark decides to play the same game, but better. He creates the Invincible brand. He saves people in wealthy neighborhoods for reward money. He confiscates stolen goods from villains. Heroism is a profitable business model. The public loves his efficiency at first, but cracks appear. Why does he only patrol rich areas? Why do his critics have accidents? The Guardians of the Globe try to recruit him to instill some ethics. He refuses. He doesn't take orders. He operates by one law, his own. The breaking point is a series of perceived challenges. A corporation refuses his fee. A politician moves to regulate him. The Guardians attempt an arrest. To Mark, these are the weak trying to leash the strong. His response is absolute, brutal, and public. The corporate HQ becomes a crater. The politician vanishes. The Guardians are hospitalized, a message sent to all. The masquerade is over. Mark isn't a hero, he is the authority. His takeover of Earth is a hostile acquisition. He doesn't want to govern daily life, he wants to establish the hierarchy. He is at the top. Those who acknowledge this are left alone. Those who challenge him are made into examples so graphic that resistance becomes unthinkable. He rules through anarchic tyranny, a dystopia where the only law is his whim and the only crime is defying his power. When the Viltrumites finally arrive, they find a conquered Earth and its half-breed ruler. Nolan returns, part of an assessment team, and feels a twisted pride. His genetic offspring has achieved through brutal instinct what takes Viltrumites centuries of doctrine. Thrag, ever pragmatic, sees an opportunity. He offers Mark a deal: rule Earth as a Viltrumite vassal, pay tribute, provide resources. In exchange, keep your throne and gain our backing. For Mark, it's an easy calculus. He loses nothing, gains an empire's support, and his philosophy of strength is validated by the strongest empire in the galaxy. But absolute victory brings a hollow aftermath. The conquest was thrilling, the domination satisfying, but ruling, its administrative tedium. There are no challenges left worth his time. In rare, quiet moments, in the opulent silence of a stolen palace, he wonders, what if his mother had been sober? What if his father had stayed? What if someone had taught him that strength could be for building, not just breaking? These aren't regrets, he doesn't believe in them. They are cold acknowledgements. His philosophy, while brutally effective, has built a kingdom of ashes. The tragedy of absolute Mark is that power corrupted him. It's that he was never given a chance to be anything but corrupt. He is the logical conclusion of a child raised without love, trust, or guidance, who learned that the world is a vicious arena and then won it completely, only to find the trophy is empty. Mark 2099. The year is 2099. Earth is a planet of glittering, cynical progress. The Age of Heroes is a romanticized, distorted memory. The original Invincible Mark Grayson is a legend stripped of nuance. Official history, curated by the Ministry of Continuity, remembers only his power, his battles, his strength. The heart of the story, his compassion, his moral struggle, his choice to protect rather than conquer, is lost to archives. The public knows what he was, strong. They have forgotten why he was, good. This cultural amnesia creates a vacuum, a hunger for decisive strength in a complex world. The figure that fills it is a creation of corporate science. He is Specimen Icarus, the sole viable product of the GeneMyth project. Vitrogen Corporation spent decades trying to synthesize Viltrumite power from stolen, degraded DNA samples. He is the result, a being with formidable strength, durability, and flight, but it is a strained, imperfect mimicry. His cellular efficiency is flawed. He tires, he aches. More critically, his psyche is a void, filled only with a consuming need for validation and a bitter rage at his own inherent lack. He is a photocopy, fading where the original was vibrant. He studies the records of the original Invincible but sees only surfaces. He watches the battle footage and sees overwhelming force, not brilliant strategy or reluctant mercy. He concludes the legend is a polite fiction. The real truth, he decides, is that the world respects only power and principles are a leash for the weak. He designs a suit, a sleek, armored, intimidating evolution of the classic design, in darker hues. He announces himself as the new Invincible, the spiritual heir for a hardened era. His debut is a masterstroke of media manipulation. He allows a minor alien scavenger raid to reach a major city. As conventional defenses stall, he arrives. He doesn't minimize collateral damage, he maximizes spectacle. He doesn't subdue, he annihilates, tearing ships apart with his bare hands on live global streams. Standing amid the wreckage and alien blood, he delivers his doctrine. The old world debated, the new world acts, I'm invincible. Your safety is my responsibility. Your obedience is your duty. The reaction is explosively divisive but effective. To a generation raised on instability and cynicism, his brutal clarity is appealing. He offers the seductive trade of freedom for the illusion of security. He establishes Invincible standards, a code that grants him supreme authority during any crisis, a term he defines broadly. He patrols corporate sectors, ensuring economic interests are untouched. Petty crime vanishes, but so does dissent. When the superheroine Star Singer criticizes his methods, he publicly challenges and brutally humiliates her, breaking her signature weapon and leaving her defeated in Times Square as a lesson. The Earth government is paralyzed, trapped between his popularity and his power. They adopt a policy of managed accommodation, trying to steer his violence outward while hoping to contain the damage at home. They become junior partners in their own irrelevance. But Mark 2099 is not content with being Earth's warlord. He is haunted by the scale of the original's galactic legacy. He craves that level of recognition. He becomes an instigator, provoking conflicts with fringe alien civilizations, sabotaging diplomatic envoys to create conflicts he can win spectacularly. Each victory is packaged into violent media content, feeding his cult of personality. He makes Earth a beacon of belligerence. His arrogance finally summons an audience he cannot manipulate. News of a new Invincible reaches a remnant faction of the Viltrumite Empire, traditionalists who rejected Mark Grayson's reforms. Led by the ancient warlord Kreger, they come not with fleets, but with a single ship to assess this pretender. Mark 2099 confronts them publicly, hovering before their vessel, broadcasting his defiance. Kreger steps out, a Viltrumite whose scarred face is a history of war. He looks not at a threat, but at a curiosity. You wear the name of Mark Grayson, Kreger says, his voice amplified for the world. You think it is a mantle of power. It is a story of choice. He defeated me at the Battle of the Twin Moons. He broke my bones, then he spared my life. He told me mine could be more than conquest. I called him weak. I was the fool. His strength was in his conviction. You have the shadow, you have nothing of the substance. Mark 2099 attacks. What follows is a brutal instructional dissection. Kreger doesn't just fight, he critiques. He dodges blows with contemptuous ease. Your form is emotional, sloppy. He lands a punch that cracks the high-tech armor. Your durability is pathetic. He stood after blows from Thrag. He grabs Mark by the throat, holding him aloft for the cameras. You feel this. This is the distance between a costume and a character, between a power and a principle. He doesn't deliver a killing blow. He delivers humiliation, stripping the pretender's aura along with pieces of his armor, exposing the trembling, flawed being beneath. He finishes by dropping the broken figure into the ruins of a fountain. Turning to the cameras, Kreger delivers the final verdict. Do not mistake this creature for the hero. Mark Grayson fought against us to save you. He valued a single life over empire. This thing values only its own reflection. You have been conquered by a shadow. How pitiful. The exposure is total. The carefully cultivated brand implodes. Public adoration curdles into ridicule, then into widespread anger. Psychologically shattered, Mark 2099 faces the void of his own identity. The path to redemption, to starting anew as something authentic, requires confronting his fundamental emptiness. He cannot. The need for the adoration that has turned to hate is too great. He chooses the darker symmetry. If he cannot be the hero, he will fully become the villain they now see. He sheds the last pretense of protection, using his remaining power for personal vengeance and gain. He becomes the pretender, a supervillain in a dead hero's colors, a living monument to corrupted legacy. His story is the final, tragic warning of the 22nd century. It screams that remembering only a hero's strength while forgetting his heart does not create a new hero. It forges a perfect monster. Mark 2099 didn't tarnish Invincible's name. He revealed how completely his world had forgotten what the name ever truly meant. If you want a part 2 diving into even more mind-bending Invincible variants, comment below. Let us know which story shocked you the most. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an alternate reality. Until next time, stay invincible.